Hi guys, Craig here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you all had a really lovely Christmas. So in today's video we're going to talk about the strange disappearance of Susan Powell and the even stranger actions of her husband Josh. So grab yourself a drink and let's get into the video. So guys, Susan Powell was born on the 16th of October 1981. Susan was described by many people as being a really lovely, caring person and a doting mother that would do anything for anyone. So I think it's safe to say that she was genuinely really nice to be around. Susan's husband Josh was born on the 20th of January 1976. And although Josh's upbringing was slightly different to Susan's due to his father Steven being very abusive, some people would go on to say that Josh suffered emotionally due to this abuse. The pair would go on to have two beautiful children together, 2-year-old Charlie and 4-year-old Braden. So this story starts on Sunday, December 6th, 2009. Susan, along with her friend and her husband Josh, all had lunch together. And according to Susan's friend, she was behaving perfectly normal. There was nothing out of the ordinary. But she did state that she was feeling tired and wanted to go for a nap after her lunch. But bizarrely, the next day, Susan and Josh both didn't turn up for work. And they also didn't drop their children off at the daycare centre as they would normally do. So the daycare centre contacted Josh's sister, who was the emergency contact person. She then alerted the authorities, and soon after a missing persons bulletin was issued for Susan, Josh and their 2 children. But here's where things start to get a little strange. Josh and the 2 children returned home at 5 p.m. that day, but Susan did not. Josh said that he had taken his sons camping in the desert at Simpson Springs on the Pony Express Trail late on Sunday evening, midnight to be precise, and he then returned home to find that his wife Susan was missing. He said that he last saw Susan in their home at 12:30 a.m. on December 7th, just before setting out on the camping trip. He stated that Susan did not want to go with them because she felt unwell. But really guys, who takes their kids camping at midnight? I'm just not buying that at all. Josh would also go on to say that the reason he didn't turn up for his work is because he got confused about which day of the week it was. I mean, at this point, is this guy even trying to be convincing? So the authorities quickly classified Susan's disappearance as suspicious, and they gained a search warrant to search the family home. Susan's friends and close family members described her as a devoting mother who would never have abandoned her children. It's also important to note that Susan left her purse, her car keys and her cell phone at home. Surely if she was just getting up and leaving, she would need those things, wouldn't she? Something else that's extremely strange and dodgy is that investigators stated on the day that Susan was reported missing, they noticed a large wet spot on the living room floor of her home. Josh had also pointed 2 fans to blow on it and dry it, as if someone had tried to wash the carpet. So your wife goes missing and you decide to wash the carpet. A bit strange, don't you think? I think Josh might have been trying to hide something at this point. Investigators also started to question Josh's story. They just could not understand for the life of them why he would take 2 toddlers camping in the cold weather with temperatures that were below freezing. Why on earth would you take your kids? It just makes no sense whatsoever. Police were also going to search the campsite where Josh says that he and the kids set up camp, but they were unable to determine whether anybody actually arrived there or not. But it's important to note at this point that Josh's young son Braden did in fact confirm that the trip did take place. So just 1 week after Susan's disappearance, Josh hired an attorney because the police informed him that he was now a person of interest in her case. They would also go on to state that they found Josh wasn't very cooperative with their investigations. At one point during the investigations, police impounded the family's minivan to do a search on it. During this time, Josh rented a rental car. Police later determined that this car was used to drive hundreds of miles before it was returned. The car was not fitted with a GPS system, so we don't know where exactly it was driven to. But why on earth was Josh driving hundreds of miles when his wife was missing? What would he have been doing and where would he have been going? In January of 2010, a month after Susan's disappearance, strangely, Josh packed up his entire family and all their belongings and placed his house up for rent. He then moved to Washington. Josh moved in with his father, Steven Powell. But why on earth would you do this when your wife is missing? Wouldn't you want to stay in the same spot in case she returned? Once Josh did indeed move in with his father Stephen, they then cut off all access to the children, and they didn't allow Susan's family to see them. In a media interview in November 2010, Josh stated that his wife was mentally unstable, and he thought that she might have left over her own accord, possibly to be with another man. He would later go on to say that she was probably too afraid to return home because of all the media attention surrounding her disappearance. But Susan's family and Josh's own sister would go on to claim that this characterisation of her was complete rubbish. At this point, Josh was highly supported by his father Stephen, and he and Josh planned to publish excerpts from Susan's diary that she kept as a teenager on their website. The inserts in this diary were written more than a decade before her disappearance. They would say that the diary entries were proof that Susan was a troubled young woman, which to me is just absolute rubbish. Susan's family would thankfully actually go on to get an injunction to stop this publication happening. It was later found out that some of Susan's neighbours stated that she had been unhappy in her marriage and had spoken openly about getting a divorce. One acquaintance stated that Susan had been saving money for this very purpose. The couple met in 2000 and married in 2001 after 6 months of dating. Susan was 19 and Josh was 25 at the time of the wedding. They were initially a really happy couple, but their relationship started to deteriorate when they moved from Washington to Utah. Several years before Susan's disappearance, they filed for bankruptcy. They were close to $200,000 in debt. Susan also reportedly described Josh as controlling and claimed that they argued frequently. The pair did try marriage counselling, but this stopped due to Susan's disappearance. Something else that is very bizarre to me personally is that Susan recorded a home video documenting her belongings. I'll insert that video now.
This is me. July 29th, 2008. It is 12:33 Mountain Time. Covering all my bases, making sure that if something happens to me or my family or all of us, that our assets are documented. Hope everything works out and we're all happy and live happily ever after as much as that's possible. Charlie, say hi. Scratching in R.C. Willie's when we first moved here in 2004, like March, April. This is a can organizer that Josh and I made. I had to help him all through the way. He doesn't do projects by himself. More supplies. Little freezer. Josh did have this before me. This bike I paid out of my Wells Fargo account. $489 was with the fender. Josh has a old Peugeot right there. That's the red one. Paperwork. What tools he bought. This is a $3,000 rocker glider. My parents lent us the money for. We still owe them, I think, $3,000. No, wait, that chair was $300. We owe them $3,300, and we owed them $4,000. Standing owing $3,000. For this bathroom, Josh felt the need to pull the mirror out and cut more holes in the wall. Said he was going to make shelves. That didn't happen. My toiletries, nail polish, makeup. I like to do Mary Kay, but it's expensive, so Josh always cuts me off after a while. And I had necklaces too. I don't know where those are. I got in a rage, as you can see, and broke this. There's duds and pearls and opals in there. Broke this and threw all my DVDs and made a mess because he was angry at me. This was about a year or two back.
I don't know about you guys, but in this video she doesn't exactly paint Josh in the best light, does she? I just can't understand why she would even feel the need to make this video. Did Susan think that something was going to happen to her? Let me know in the comment section below why you think she made this video. So another strange character in this story was Josh's father, Steven. In September 2011, Steven was charged with voyeurism, which is the act of filming or taking photographs of someone without their knowledge. He also possessed several images of child pornography. When they searched his Washington home for evidence into Susan's disappearance, authorities found 1,000 videos of women and children under the age of 8, all being filmed without their knowledge. Police stated that Steven must have been making these videos for over a decade. What a creep. One of the women depicted in these videos was Susan herself. Steven also had nude pictures of female bodies where he replaced the head with an image of Susan's face. And to top this all off, he had pornographic photos and videos of himself masturbating over videos of Susan. In May of 2012, thankfully, Steven was convicted of 15 charges related to pornography, and he was sentenced to only 2.5 years in prison. Interestingly, Steven had earlier claimed that Susan was a very overly sexual person and that she wanted to have an affair with him. But Susan's family deny this and say that the exact opposite was actually true. That Susan and Josh had moved to Utah partly to get away from Steven, and quite frankly, I don't blame them. Susan and Josh's boys were then taken into foster care following Steven's arrest. Susan's parents then sought and obtained custody of the boys. Josh did, however, receive supervised visitation twice a week. He rented a new home and submitted to psychological evaluations in an attempt to regain custody of his kids. But disturbingly, the police in Utah had found over 400 cartoon sex drawings on Josh's computer in early 2009. But the authorities decided not to prosecute him because they did not depict real people. Surely this alone should have been a warning sign that Josh was a messed up individual, don't you think? In February of 2012, a judge ordered Josh to undergo psychosexual evaluations and to also undergo a polygraph test. The judge would say that if he did not do this, he would never regain custody of his kids. The week after, Josh had a supervised visit with his boys at his new home. On the day of the visit, the kids jumped out the car and ran into the house. But when they did, Josh locked the door and locked the supervisor lady out. The supervisor lady could then hear screaming and commotion. Josh was actually at this point attacking his two boys with a hatchet. He then proceeded to pour petrol all over the house and set it alight, killing himself and the two boys instantly. Josh did leave messages behind for his family members and for his lawyer, apologising for his actions, saying that he just could not live without his kids. But sadly, none of these messages ever mentioned his wife Susan. The police stated that it appeared that Josh had been planning this murder-suicide for some time, due to him having stockpiled the petrol, and he had recently given all of the children's toys away to charity. In March of 2012, newly sealed documents revealed additional evidence that police had linking Josh to Susan's disappearance. Her blood had been found on the tile floor next to the couch at the family home, and Susan's cell phone had been found in Josh's car, and this is something that he just couldn't explain. When Josh turned Susan's cell phone over to police, it was switched off and the SIM card was removed. He would later go on to give his own phone to police, but the SIM card again was removed. Susan had a $1.5 million life insurance policy, and after her disappearance, Josh began drawing money out of her retirement account, and he strangely would go on to cancel all of his wife's upcoming appointments. Now, why would you do this if you believed or hoped that your wife was going to come back? Chillingly, Susan would go on to leave a note stating that if she died, it may not be an accident, even if it looked like one. One last strange fact in this case is that Charlie told police that his mother did indeed accompany them on that camping trip that night, but that she did not return home with them and he didn't know why. A few months after his mother's disappearance, after he had moved to Washington, Charlie told his teacher that his mother was indeed dead. Now, why on earth would a child say this if it was untrue? It's also stated that one of the children drew a family portrait, and in this picture it depicted Josh and the two boys. When a teacher asked, "Where is your mother?" he replied, "She's in the trunk of the car." What the hell? So Susan's family have been very critical, rightly so, of the Utah police, particularly after the death of Josh and their two grandsons. Susan's family state that police had enough evidence to bring charges against Josh, and if they had, this would have prevented the murder of their two grandsons. So guys, that was the story of the disappearance of Susan Powell. In my opinion, I think it's pretty obvious that her husband Josh did indeed murder her. I think it's absolutely tragic that he killed himself and his two boys without ever disclosing the whereabouts of Susan's body. I guess it's just one of those cases that we will never get answers to. Let me know in the comment section below what you think happened to Susan. One last thing that I want to tell you guys is that I've recently started a new true crime podcast. So I'm doing these videos but in podcast form. So I would really appreciate it if you could go and check them out. The name of the podcast is True Crime with Craig. So if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all next time for another video. Take care. Bye!